Good morning, everybody. We're just going to give it a couple of more minutes just to allow for further attendees to join. Right, I think we shall start. Good morning, everybody. I do hope you are all safe and well, and hopefully some of you are able to join this beautiful weather we're experiencing at the moment. Thank you for joining the fourth in our series of weekly webinars, the Show and Tell webinars. We will continue with new topics through June, so please look out for the communications, which will give you a brief overview of the topics and how to register. Today's webinar is delivering infrastructure on demand and as a service. Your presenter will be Graham Bromham. The session is being recorded and you will be on listen only mode. You will have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of the session. So you can either raise your hand on the panel on the side of your screen, or post your question in the chat box. Okay, without further ado, I will hand over to Graham. Graham, are you there?
I am here, Mel. Yeah, you can hear me okay?
I will now go on mute. Thank you. Over to you.
Great. Thanks, Mel. Good morning, everyone. As Mel said, welcome to this morning's webinar. I'll be talking you through some of the services stroke solutions that Fujitsu can offer to help you, I guess, fight the wave of certainly discussion and interest from customers around public cloud and the sort of solutions as partners that you can offer out to them alongside Fujitsu to really help you compete in that market space. Hence the title, Taking the Fight to the Public Cloud. I think I'll start off by giving you a little bit of a view of what we're hearing and some of the landscape, and then I'm going to walk through three specific areas that we offer. So firstly, I'm going to talk around our USCALE Pay Per Use model, so infrastructure on demand, so the ability to take private dedicated physical equipment to put into a customer's data center, build your own environment and pay on a pay-per-use basis. And then we're going to move into a couple of as-a-service solutions around the Nutanix stack, so delivering Nutanix-based infrastructure as a service, and also further expansion on our latest development around the delivery of X as a service or bare metal, so the ability not just to take Nutanix, but to be able to add other flavors into those sort of solutions as well. And then we'll end by talking about some of the additional support and help that we can provide you around services and some of our ecosystem. So let's get into it. So there's certainly a lot that we're hearing, and if I give you a snapshot of what we hear in our discussions with partners, and my role is looking after our service provider partners in the UK and Ireland, and whilst that's people typically who are utilising Fujitsu technology to build and deliver services out to their customers. Everything that we're talking about today is not only relevant to service provider partners, it's relevant to any of our partners. Just happens to be that the origination of some of these products and offerings have come out of our service provider team, both here in the UK and across the wider European region. And everything we really hear is around demanding flexibility and customers wanting access to applications we're certainly seeing customers with a real push towards wanting to take broader business outcome based solutions from their partners and wanting their partners to deliver solutions which encompass aspects of technology which are probably outside the standard comfort zone and the core skills of our partners, and that's putting real strain on the partner community and resellers and value-added resellers, alike. And a lot of this is also being driven, I think, by the adoption of cloud, and everyone's used to working and consuming services on a subscription basis. If we look at how we drive, how we do things at home with subscribing to Netflix or paying for our Google or iPhone cloud storage for our photos, etc. We're in that society now, and that sort of consumerization has made businesses totally ready now to start to consume their services on a subscription, pay-as-you-go, as a service basis, and that's really what we're seeing. And hopefully, I can help you through this journey and give you a view of a couple of solutions that can really help you address some of those requirements with your customers. One of the things and the dreaded things that you may hear from your customers is those words, "We're moving to the cloud." But what does that mean? I mean, I guess that big word, the cloud, what really does the cloud mean? Is that a threat that means you or your sales guys literally have just got to walk away? You've got no response. That's the end of the refresh cycle of supplying equipment to that customer, maybe the end of a support agreement. Or is it an opportunity for you? What does that represent? And it's certainly challenging. Certainly ourselves, when a customer says, "Okay, well, I want to move to the cloud, I've got a cloud first strategy." The first question for us, okay, how do we move that conversation on? And it's normally that cloud word that's the thing. What does that mean? How do you respond? When someone says cloud, do they mean public cloud or hyperscaler? Do they just mean off-premise? They don't want to have servers and storage and infrastructure in the comms room in the basement or in a dedicated computer suite? Or does that just mean they want to pay for things differently and maybe have somebody else take ownership of owning and managing that solution? There's really lots and lots of different connotations there that you really need to dig into. So we always start with this piece. Okay, let me understand what you want to achieve. When you say, okay, we want to go to the cloud, what do you mean by that? What do you want to achieve from that? And that typically starts to really drive to a different discussion than necessarily the original assumption, which may have meant that means my customer's going off to the public cloud and is going to consume Azure or AWS or Google Cloud Service, etc. I think one of the big misconceptions that a lot of customers, certainly end users, have is, I can just move to the cloud. But have they looked in terms of what of their applications are actually compatible or relatively easy to move to the cloud, and what are really challenging those legacy applications? So that certainly is one of those questions which typically brings that conversation back around and starts to really add credibility and some real value back into the discussions that you're having and contributing to the customer, because there normally is one line of business application that most customers have that their business is reliant upon, and quite often it's their business processes that have been built around that application that make it challenging to be able to pick that up and move to, say, a software as a service, subscription-based service. And if I use something like CRM, the CRM application itself is fine, but how people use it and how the business process flows across sales, marketing, resource planning, etc., is probably very ingrained in a business and not necessarily something to be replicated by just migrating to Salesforce or Microsoft CRM, etc. And of course, the other piece, compliance, regulatory, and data sovereignty. Are you happy just with your data and your systems sitting out in the cloud, or do you need to be able to touch and feel them, or at least know that they don't exit outside of the UK jurisdiction, for example? So certainly industry sectors will have different requirements. So as I say, there's a lot to be discussed. Don't run away from that. on moving to the cloud, embrace that discussion and that comment that comes from your customer, embrace it, make sure you're equipped to have those discussions, and then can respond. And the next 3 solutions that we talk about will hopefully give you the ability to really be able to respond appropriately. So as I said before, the three parts: USCALE, infrastructure on demand, Nutanix, and X as a service. So let's get straight into those. So when we look at this from Fujitsu, and if I go back 18 months, we wanted to make sure that we were in a position to be able to address the full sphere of requirements from our customers, right through from, on the left-hand side of this diagram, CapEx or lease-based financing purchases, which some people, and some customers, absolutely abide by, especially maybe if they're in the public sector and they have annualized budgeting, then that still is very much the key purchase mechanism. Although that is changing even in public sector, education, higher education, certainly are starting to move to OPEX models. Then we move across to the very right-hand side, almost the most flexible. So the polar opposite of CapEx upfront is pay per use on a operational, pure OPEX model. So no pseudo, not lease base, not finance backed, but literally pay per use on dedicated infrastructure, which is on premise, and we'll talk through that. And then almost a halfway house that we're going to talk about as well, Nutanix as a service and X as a service, that we also term co-located consumption. Co-located consumption because this is consuming a solution which is already running, located in a data center that you subscribe to, your customer subscribes to, and but it is again on an OPEX model, so non-ownership, real flexibility, easy expansion. So real, the full scale here of solutions. So let's get into USCALE Pay Per Use. So what is it? So the answer is private dedicated infrastructure on demand. And the key piece here that we wanted to do when we created this was we wanted there to be as few commitments as possible. This wasn't a question where we expected somebody to take a pay on demand, but commit to 75, 85% minimum commits only on an increasing basis, could never be decreased, with real burdens around the services that came with these solutions, which meant that they may not be as cost competitive or as appropriate for small and medium businesses as they were enterprise customers. And there certainly are products on the market out there now which I guess fit into that guise. For us, USCALE is absolutely not that. We do not need minimum commitments, and we do not have fixed minimum fees. We get around that by working jointly with you and your customers to agree a forecast based upon usage. And I'll talk through that as we go through some illustrations in the upcoming slides. Key thing was to have the ability to be able to flex up and down throughout the term of an agreement. So you've got physical servers or storage or combination of both that are in your data center, your customer's data center. They are physically there. You have more capacity than you need. So you have that capacity on demand. So let's say you wanted, 10 servers, maybe we've delivered 12 or 15, you're paying for using 8 or 10 of them, but you've immediately got the ability to be able to use those. So if you onboard a new customer, or your customer then goes through growth, whether that be seasonality or just growth through maybe acquisition, mergers, or just seasonality, then you can respond to that quickly. You don't have the normal delays of procurement cycles and implementation. We wanted it to be available across the entire enterprise portfolio, so whether that be storage, whether that be servers, whether that be our integrated system portfolio. And we absolutely didn't want this to be a pseudo lease. We didn't want it to be dressed up finance agreement, because ultimately, if there's a finance agreement in place, there's a fixed amount of borrowing that has to be repaid over a term, however creatively that's presented. Whereas we wanted this to be a service agreement, not finance, which meant that it had flexibility to go up and down, and it had true variability. So how does this work? Potentially all sounds too good to be true, flexible up and down, dedicated equipment, on premise, where's the catch? So the answer is we start the process as we would do normally. We determine a configuration, so our pre-sales consultants and your tech teams work together to be able to design a solution. We then agree the forecast. So what we need to understand is what the initial size of the requirement is and how that's likely to grow over the term. Term of this is typically 3, 4, or 5 years. Doesn't have to be limited to that, and could be less than 3 years if needed. But in terms of, we just need to understand. That enables us to understand what the pricing levels will be. Also understand what level of equipment we put into you on day one, and how we might need to grow that over time, and how that's going to work. So that gives us a forecast. We're not looking for a commitment on that. We're looking for a forecast where everybody's happy that it's a true representation, and we can adjust that through time, but enables us to establish the baseline. And the baseline is the per unit per month price. That's in effect what calculates. And in addition to that, we apply a set of discounts, which mean the more you use, the better pricing you get. So you're not in a case where you are disadvantaged by using this solution. The more you do it. And if I use an example of storage, if you're paying a set price per terabyte, per gigabyte of storage, the more you use it, and maybe it's back up as a service, all of a sudden you start to get to a point where you or your customer says, I don't really want to pay anymore, so I stop backing up the data I really need. And it's almost it's almost reverse logic, is that you actually need to back up more data. You don't want to pay for it, so you start making compromises, and that's not what we wanted. We wanted to reward the right behavior and reward utilization by giving the best price throughout a contract. As and when additional capacity is needed, we supply it. There's no problem with that. And usage is reported automatically or as a declaration, or a combination of both, depending on what technology we're using. So that's really easy as well. And just to help put that in context, what I'll do is I'll run through a pricing illustration for you, and hopefully this starts to draw a bit of a picture for you. So we're going to use an illustration here. We have 16 nodes, call 16 node servers. In this case, this is a real example that we've anonymized, but it's 16 nodes of Nutanix here. So this is a Nutanix hyperconverged infrastructure. It's a 36-month agreement, and the customer's paying for it on a per node per month basis. Based on the forecast, we set a fee, £1,389 per month was the standard fee, and that then delivers a utilization discount structure, as you can see here, and we have 6 bands, A to F, and you can see the corresponding discounts that are applied. And in the next slide, then I'll talk you through how that applies, so you can see how that discount kicks in and applies. So, and the periods don't matter here, they're just illustrative. So this could be month 1 to 2, 3 to 4, etc. I just happen to have picked 4 periods during a 36-month term just to illustrate. So in months 1 to 12, customer is using 16 nodes. So we have their standard price of $13.89, but because they're using 16 nodes, they're at 100% utilization. They're getting maximum discount of 26%. So effectively, they're paying £1,027 per node rather than $13.89, and the total they're paying is $16,400. And you can see in months 13 to 18, they have 16 nodes available. They only use 8, so they're only paying for 8. The other 8 are still on site. They're still on premise. They're not taken back. They're just there. They're below 50%, or they're at 50% utilization, so they're not into the first band. The first band started at 65% in the previous slide. So they are paying $13.89 per node, and it's £11,000 approximately. And then in months 19 to 27 and 28 to 36, their utilization starts to increase. So let's say they've lost some customers, or they've got less utilization in months 13 to 18, and then utilization and demand is starting to grow, and you can see that additional discounts are starting to kick in as their utilization increases. Throughout the whole term here, there's 16 nodes available, so they're starting to use 12. Discounting has kicked in of 11%. So their per node is $12.36, and 16, they're back up again to full utilization, full discount, getting the maximum benefit of the discount structure and paying $1,027. So hopefully here you can see the ability to physically use different amounts of the infrastructure that's available, and how the pricing changes. And I think the real illustration, if you look at it, is the price difference between months 19 to 27 and 28 to 36 is 12 nodes were 14,800, 16 nodes are only 16,400. You know, it literally is £1,600 difference per month, but you're getting 4 additional nodes, so you can really see that the economics are starting to kick in there. Hopefully that gives you an illustration of how that works. So let's talk about why is it relevant to you. Well, I think the good thing is, this is available to all. So, it's available to partners. So by that, what we mean is, if you're looking at ways where you might want to build an infrastructure, then you absolutely can build an infrastructure based on this solution into a data center and start to deliver private cloud type solutions to your customers, infrastructure as a service. Clearly, you can deliver dedicated solutions to your customers, either in your data centers, in your co-location facilities, or on their premises. It makes no difference. We don't care where the equipment is. Or if you're a service provider or becoming a service provider, starting to do this service provision, then clearly you can utilize this to start to help you reduce the upfront investment and reduce the risk of bringing these new services to market. Clearly, it really helps with your customers and addressing their demands for monthly pricing, subscription type pricing. So I guess in the current environment, responding to the current crisis that we're in and any consequences of that, where maybe cash preservation will be key, people will be more interested in moving to monthly rather than upfront investments. And maybe an ability here to be able to help kickstart those projects that have been put back on hold and where budget restrictions have been in place. Maybe this is another way to be able to mobilize. And I think anything we talk about today, the two following solutions we're going to talk about, really, all of those pieces apply. We're really talking about OPEX here rather than CAPEX, and giving you a discussion point to have with your customers that says, yeah, there might be some restrictions, your business needs to move on, but we can help you with some flexibility and some choice here and some different ways to be able to mobilize these projects. So hopefully that gives you a good flavor of what USCALE is. So on-demand pay-per-use dedicated infrastructure in your premise, in your data center, or on your customer's location on a pay-per-use basis. So let's move on to Nutanix as a service. Otherwise, in terms of co-located consumption on Nutanix Enterprise Cloud. So the first thing we talk about is going to be Nutanix based. So Nutanix Enterprise Cloud on Fujitsu Primagy servers. So we are the latest OEM. Also, the latest is more than 18 months. 18 months in the past when we were appointed. So we have fully certified Primagy nodes, which are delivering enterprise, Nutanix Enterprise Cloud, fixed configurations, fully certified, single point of support for hardware and software from Fujitsu. So it makes it really easy to give your customers the benefits of Nutanix hyper-converged infrastructure solutions moving forward. And here, the ability for you to be able to deliver these on an as-a-service basis. So let me talk through how this works. So we have 3 fixed configurations, call them small, medium, large. That's not quite how we small, and you can see here the illustration. So first point is choose your node based on workload requirements. If you want custom nodes, they are available. So we could do custom if you want, but here are our catalog nodes, as we call them. Secondly, choose your data center location, and currently that's 3. So these can run out of London, Frankfurt, and Amsterdam. I'm not adding in here, but this is available. Numerous locations in the US as well as Singapore that's just coming online. So there are additional facilities here, but I was just talking European here. So London, Frankfurt, or Amsterdam, and I'm assuming mainly it would be London for the audience we're talking to today. Secondly, we're delivering this in partnership with our partner Sixtera. And in effect, they are housing these nodes in their data center, connecting it to their extensive network and delivering it out so that in effect you can warm rent that node. And by that, what I mean is it's in a rack, it's connected, it's running. They are fully responsible for all of the power, cooling, etc., and space costs of delivering this and the maintenance. So if a node fails, they simply replace it. You don't have to worry about that. And you're paying, you or your customer are paying a monthly rental fee for that device. You have that device and you can do whatever you want. So if you build your own service, you can build your own service. If your customer wants to run their own applications, they run their own applications. You have total control, and it's dedicated hardware. This is not a question you're sharing. So dedicated hardware, no question of it being shared, no data sovereignty issues. Your data won't reside in any location other than on the physical equipment in the physical data center that you've chosen. But the beauty here is that not only can you sell this solution to the customer, but as a partner, you have the ability to sell the appliance to Cyxtera. And you may say, well, what's the relevance of that? The relevance of that is that quite often you may get into the discussion where you're looking at these solutions and you're proposing an upfront CapEx purchase of a Nutanix solution to your customer. Then they say, I'd like to take it monthly. You've then got the dilemma that says, hang on a minute, my sales process, my sales guys are commissioned and targeted based on upfront sales, not on monthly recurring revenue. So that causes me a problem. Here, you have the best of both worlds. You can present the customer and give the customer the option to be able to take this service monthly, either from Cyxtera directly, so they can handle that piece and you hand that off, or you can do that on behalf of Cyxtera in effect in the resale mode. But additionally, the equipment that is needed to fulfill the customer contract can be purchased through you. So Cyxtera will buy those appliances. So you'll take them from distribution and you will sell them to Cyxtera instead of your end customer, and you will take upfront revenue and margin recognition on those, just as you would do selling a CapEx. And then you have the option to potentially take a referral fee or to charge an uplift to make additional margin on the monthly for the service as well. So it's a win-win. You stay whole in that loop. You don't lose anything to a recurring revenue model that may cause you some sales challenges, etc. So that's a really nice model. I think there's no downside to that for anybody in the channel, not our distributors, not our partners, and hopefully it's only benefit to your customers. Pricing includes, as you can see here, talked around it, but the data center space, storage, and space, power, and cooling. All of the networking, the hardware, the Nutanix software, Acropolis and Prism, which are included, and all of the hardware maintenance and support and the 24/7 operations. In the Nutanix world, it's 3 nodes as a minimum and then 1 node afterwards. And that's not a service limitation, that's Nutanix, is that you need 3 nodes to make a Nutanix cluster work. And as I said, if you want to add custom nodes, you potentially can have custom nodes, but custom nodes are likely to require a minimum of 36-month commitment, whereas our standard nodes only require a 12-month commitment. And if I scroll through into the next slide, here you can see just an illustration, and we'll make these available to you so you can make them available to your sales teams and your customers, is the specifications and the 1, 2, and 3 year pricing that is available. If we move on to X as a service or bare metal, what we've done here, and this is an evolution of the Nutanix as a service piece, is extended this offer out so that it is available on non-Nutanix environments. So not everyone wants Nutanix. So how about we offer exactly the same solution, but just by taking the hardware pieces, and then you determine, one, if you add software onto it, and also what software you might want to add onto it. So could that be Microsoft? Could that be VMware, etc.? Or could that just be hardware that's used for some open source hosting? You're going to run an open source hypervisor, for example. So here we have 5 configurations. So the bare metal configurations, there are 5 of them that are available, different specifications, and the same model really that we talked about previously. So choose the data center location, sell the appliance to Cyxtera, etc. Decide if you're going to manage the customer relationship or if you'd like them to do it on your behalf, and recognize the sale up front. So complete the way through. So here you could, you've really got the ability to be able to say, well, great, I can address any of my customers' requirements in this model. I could build out a service as I require, either a shared service or a bespoke service for my customer. and utilize the standard configuration. So really remove that pre-sales, that design process, and really start to make it simple, repeatable, and hopefully higher margin for you, whilst always delivering a monthly OPEX-based price out to the customer, but not having the inconvenience here of you having to recognize that and doing the accruals and the ongoing revenue recognition and maybe the cash flow impacts that may have. All of that is removed by this. And the great thing you can see at the bottom, hopefully it's not too small, with bare metal, is whereas Nutanix is a minimum of 3 nodes, you can do bare metal from a minimum of 1, because there's no limitation on the hardware itself. So 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes, whatever you require, you can move forward. And again, we have an equivalent pricing matrix which we can make available to you for you to be able to use. So as I was saying, how can you use these offerings? Well, delivering bespoke Nutanix, VMware, Microsoft, or other, maybe even open source solutions to satisfy customer needs. So that's absolutely standard. So customers got a requirement, you can do that. You don't need to go and find an independent data center. You don't need to worry about delivering it on the customer's premise. So you can address they want to move to the cloud. You could give them a private cloud solution that's got a ready-made data center that is connected to all of the connectivity carriers, has express routes to be able to connect into the public cloud if it's a hybrid type solution. So really is an enterprise grade hosting environment with the nodes available, and can be delivered pretty well on demand. You could just resell it if that's the case. Just take this as a service, but sell a service rather than sell product. That's another way of doing it. Or if you're thinking, actually, I've got an increasing need for this, and I'd really like to have a solution where I can compete against some of the public cloud and have my own private cloud solution, then this is a way for you to be able to get in that without having to predict what your future capacity requirements may be, and without having to, I guess, take on a big burden of risk. So you could take this on, you could have a commitment for 12 months. You could test this, you could grow it on demand with quick expansion, knowing that it's only a monthly cost that you're taking on board. You're not signing up to a large finance agreement and a large investment on capacity you don't know if you'll be able to fulfill. So this is a really, really good stepping stone of getting into that market. And as it says here, why use? Why would you use these solutions? Controlled and predictable cost. It's a monthly cost and it is predicted. One of the things with everything that you've seen here is that they are fixed fee. Whereas a lot of public cloud solutions, you'll see that it's variable. Whilst you know what your resource is costing, you don't know what your transit cost of moving data in and out are on a monthly basis. And that's typically the bit that bites our customers and they complain about, is that it costs a lot more than I initially estimated or expected. These solutions are fixed fee without the variability of transit costs. So you really do have controllability. You can ramp up really quickly and expand, days initially and then hours when you're starting to expand. So you really are reducing the procurement and implementation and onboarding cycles for new customers and new services. And it gives you the ability to be able to deliver these solutions, primarily in the UK. But if you want to take the services and join these services together to deliver wider customer solutions across the EU and maybe even address some worldwide customers that you might have, then absolutely this gives you the infrastructure to be able to build those solutions out. So that's all great. But what about if you need some additional help? How can Fujitsu help with that? How can we help you on this journey? So the answer is, that there's a couple of pieces. Firstly, we've got managed service support packages. So we can help you define, design, and with the ongoing support and management of these solutions. So our product related services team have the capability of service delivery managers, incident managers, services, assessment services, etc., to be able to deliver that out. And my colleague John Griffin will be covering that in an upcoming webinar that is scheduled for the 24th of June. So watch out for that on the 24th of June and you'll get much more detail. What I would say as well is Sam Broadhurst in my team really understands about this, and Sam can Sam can help you with that, and Sam's contact details will be on the upcoming slide, so you can see how to contact Sam as well then. The other piece is, if you decide that, okay, this is great, I want to take advantage of this, but this is probably not for me. I'm not going to build my own solution. I don't think that's right for me. I know what my customers are. I know how to sell to them. I need to satisfy their needs, but I don't see myself ever becoming a service provider or ever becoming an expert in some of these other areas that my customers are demanding from me. Then work with us in the ecosystem. Certainly in the service provider space, we've really worked for the last 12 months on developing our ecosystem, and that could be consultancies, solution experts, software providers these days, ISVs, co-location providers, MSPs, and they all have expertise in different areas. Many of them would be delighted to work and do work just on a channel basis to be able to help you deliver out infrastructure as a service solutions to your customers. So deliver that solution to your customer, work in partnership with one of these ecosystem partners that we can link you with to utilize part of their service. You present a single solution to your customer, and you're working in partnership with, and that's really what customers are expecting these days. They're demanding more and more end-to-end solutions, but they're not necessarily expecting you to deliver all aspects of that, and they recognize that your skills are in identifying the right partners and delivering end-to-end. That doesn't mean that you have to take ultimate in-house responsibility for end-to-end. So broaden those solution sets that you can confidently offer. But I guess more importantly, reduce your risk, get into new markets faster, and work collaboratively. And we would love to talk with you and introduce you and help foster those joint relationships. Between partner and partner, this is not about flowing through Fujitsu. Our interest is in making the ecosystem successful and making things easier for you as partners to drive and deliver to your customers, because your success hopefully will deliver us success in the future. So who can help you on the journey? Myself, absolutely. I can help you there. We talked about Sam on the on anything we've talked about, but the managed service support packages and services. Then Sam is, I guess, our subject matter expert on there. So you can see Sam on email, mobile phone, and LinkedIn, etc. So absolutely no problem with that. And there's also, I guess, another key figure in this, Clayton Montgomery, from a pre-sales consultancy, so can help understand business requirements, architect solutions at a high level, work with our technical subject matter experts to be able to drive things forward. So Clayton is a really great resource there, understands all of this technology, and really could be a good extension to your sales and pre-sales stroke engineering resources. So I'd encourage you all to reach out and to utilize us as part of your own virtual teams. And finally, I guess the key takeaways. One little plug is I talked about John Griffin's upcoming webinar that will be on the 24th of June. If you liked the sound of the Nutanix as a service and X as a service bare metal pieces, I am running a webinar, a joint webinar with Sixtera, so you'll understand all about the offering. You'll hear from Sixtera about the packages, about the platform. You'll also see a demonstration on how easy it is to provision machines and to be able to use the interfaces to actually deliver the services on this webinar on the 10th of June at 2 o'clock. The registration link is here, but if you're following me, and I encourage you to follow me on LinkedIn, etc., then you will see announcements of this week, so you'll be able to register. Start talking to your customers about pay per use, I think is it. I think it's a massively hot topic, so really do talk to them about that. Start engaging in those discussions. Don't shy away from them, because we can give you a way to satisfy those requirements, and they become very fruitful discussions very quickly when you demonstrate some of the flexibility and the extensivity of the solution that we can deliver. The other piece I would say is share the Nutanix as a service and X as a service pricing sheets with your internal sales staff and with your customers, because again, there's another way there to start delivering as a service. So sell in a different way, have a different discussion, engage at a different level with your customers, and use those resources to be able to look at that. It will help differentiate, and it'll help engaging in a different level of discussion with your customers, and hopefully helping them with their move towards OPEX rather than CAPEX upfront discussions. hopefully you found all that useful. We'll move to questions now. Open the floor up, Mel. If you could open up to any questions, that would be great, and I'll take those from people. Hopefully you found that useful. But if there are any questions or anything you'd like me to recover, please let me know now.
Hi Graham. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we are open for questions now. So you can either raise your hand or post your questions, or I have unmuted you. So yeah, do you want to just give it a minute or so, Graham?
Who's brave enough to ask a question?
Yes.
Is there anything on chat or anything? Anyone stuck their hand up, Mel, or nothing?
No, I can't see any raised hands at the minute, and I can't see any questions that have been posted. You've obviously done a grand job, Graham, and they will all be fully understanding of the solution. If you do have any questions that perhaps you think of once we have concluded the webinar, please feel free to either reach out to your partner account manager. You can reach out to myself or Graham or any of his team that he's provided the contact details there for you. As I said before, this session has been recorded as with our previous webinars, and it will be added to the channel portal. So if you haven't registered, then you will need to gain access.
Graham and Melanie, do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, this is Ron Klaas from the Netherlands.
Hey, Ron.
Hi, I raised one question in the chat box, but I can ask it right now. Graham, when do you expect that we will have the same T&Cs, terms and conditions, available across the European countries for the USCALE stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that's being worked on. I guess that's being worked on now as part of our data-driven transformation strategy. So some of the work that's going on internally in Fujitsu. Everything that we've got, everything we talked about there is totally available across the UK. That is the building blocks for how it's being driven out across Europe. We just need to get agreement from the various different countries on that. I would suggest that would be available. I don't have a specific time frame or dates, but I'd suggest that's probably 3 or 4 months away. Currently, Ron. I think that's a good estimate, although those discussions can be held, and I would suggest that we bring forward more of those opportunities into the Fujitsu team, because that helps us push forward. There's nothing like actually having opportunities that need to be closed to enabling these final pieces just to get across the line. That's certainly how, when we first did this in the UK, we had the structure, and just making it across the line required the first deal to go through, and then the floodgates opened, and we'd been through the commercials, we had sign off, we had authorization, and we were moving forward. So I would encourage everybody not to shy away from looking at European countries, and to help us have the demand to accelerate some of those decisions internally to bring that as forward as quickly as we can.
Okay, thank you, Graham.
Thank you, Ron. Apologies, I have just seen your question pop up. I can't see any other raised hands, and I can't see any other questions. So I think that with that, you're happy to conclude the webinar, Graham?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, if that's
yeah.
Just thanks for joining, everyone. Hopefully that was useful. Do reach out to us. Absolutely love to hear from you. So if you've got anything that customers need, or you need help yourselves, then reach out to me or anyone that's got your contact details. We'd love to have a discussion. And thanks for joining.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. With that, I will end the webinar. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.